Spotlighting Hawaii's leaders.
We want to bring in Governor David E.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor.
Lieutenant Governor, good morning. Thanks so much for joining us. Mayor Derek Kawakami.
Thank you so much, Senator, for being here.
Spotlighting the issues.
Where is the virus right now in our community?
How much is this overall going to cost the state?
How are you responding to the community's concerns? Talk about the level of citations that you guys are writing.
Spotlight Hawaii with Yunji Denise and Ryan Kalei Suji on the digital platforms of the Honolulu Star-Advertiser.
This episode of Spotlight Hawaii is brought to you by Long's Drugs and Beachside Roofing.
Aloha and happy Monday. Thanks so much for starting off your week with us here on Spotlight Hawaii. I'm Ryan Kalei Suji, joined by Yunji Denise. And this morning, we were initially supposed to interview Governor Ige. However, there was a scheduling mix-up, and he will be joining us later this week. So today, we are focusing in on the Honolulu Police Department once again.
Yes, and we are so lucky this morning to have the State of Hawaii Organization of Police Officers President. Of course, you know them as SHOPO President, Robert Cavaco. He's a 19-year HPD veteran and now the organization's leader. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Good morning, Yunji and Ryan. Thank you for having me on.
You know, 2 weeks ago, you held a news conference that made a lot of headlines talking about staffing shortages at HPD and the ripple effect that has for safety in the community and also for the officers who are on staff. Tell us a little bit about what is happening when it comes to those shortages.
Yeah, so with our patrol staffing shortages, this is something that has been, we've been dealing with as officers for, 15 plus years. And now that, and we've never spoken out about it before as a union to this extent. And so now that I'm in a position where we can do that, we're putting this on the forefront with our patrol staffing. We've been working with, 60, 65%, 70% on an average with our officers on the road. So for the public to understand that if a watch of officers in a particular district, if you have 20 officers filling 20 beats and you have 20 officers, that would be 100% staffing. But, at the start of the shift, we're working short. Let's say we're working with 15 officers. So we're 5 officers short. And we've been doing that for years. And as the shift starts, things happen in the community. And that number fluctuates as we go into the shift. So, our position with the staffing is that the community deserves 100% on all 3 watches every day. And I think the community deserves that for public safety. We've had several incidents just within the last 2 months, one in District 3 in Pearl City, where they have 17 beats. They started the night in roll call with 10, which came out to 58%. They went out to do their job on patrol. A fatality happened on the H2 freeway at about midnight, which took up a number of officers. It only left, 2 or 3 answering calls for service from Red Hill all the way to Kunia. And that's the kind of thing that we're talking about. When I speak on this patrol staffing stuff, I'm not speaking as Robert Cavaco. I'm speaking for the 1,100 patrol cops that are dealing with this. I'll give you another situation that happened 3 weeks ago in the Mililani area for our District 2. Our officers showed up at the 2 p.m. work shift, and they started with 7 officers for 13 beats. And they went out on the road. It got busy. And then the sector sergeant documented in a miscellaneous report that the dispatcher contacted the watch lieutenant and said that she has multiple priority 1 in progress cases to send out, that she has no officers available. And so the department, they hired that particular day 3 officers on overtime, but they didn't come in till 4 p.m. So you had that 2-hour gap. And we're trying to bring this to light to the department that we want to start the day at 100%. So when things happen, like Tiff and KK's incident in 2019, which happened on a Sunday morning, the incident at the Kahala Hilton Hotel where somebody in the unit, in the hotel unit, had a gun, and it became a barricade situation. Luckily that day, the East Honolulu district was properly staffed, but if they were normally working at the numbers they are working with currently, that could have been a situation that could have turned out worse than it already did.
And what has been the department's response to this request for more staffing? I mean, what has that conversation been like with them, and how have they responded to your overall concern?
So we're actually getting a good response from Chief Vanek and his administration. We sat down with them last week. We're going to sit down with them again tomorrow, and we're discussing solutions to this. We're holding our position strong that we want 100% patrol staffing for our officers, and I think we're getting a good response from them. They're willing to work with us and try and see how we can solve this issue. And we realize that Chief Vanek is interim chief, so it may be hard for him where he may not want to do something bold or do like a big decision where you would not upend the department, but make a decision where maybe a person that is the chief of the department would do.
Tell us a little bit about the consequences of having those shortages and also the remedy, because I think from the public standpoint, it seems like, well, this must be a financial decision. This must be an allocation of resources. Does the department not have adequate funding to staff at the level that is needed right now?
Well, we think that the department does. Gina Mangieri came out with a report recently, the other week, and it showed that the department gave back millions of dollars. They gave back an average of $6 million over the last 5 years. And the fiscal year ending June of last year, they gave back $18.3 million. And so that's not federal funds. That's not CARES money funds. That's money that's approved by the city council in the department's budget that is approved to be spent. And our members feel like we've been lied to because in the past, for the last 2 years, and this goes from before Chief Vanek's administration, we were always been told we have no money. We have no money. It's bare core to the bone. You gotta do what you gotta do. We gotta cut here, cut there. There's no money in the budget. And then when we found that the department was giving back millions, that really upset the patrol officers because here they are working short out in the field, and we're giving back this money which could be used to fill the beats. And when we're on this subject of patrol staffing, I just wanted to address a comment from Commissioner Doug Chin. He was on your program on Friday, and basically he said, well, the staffing problem has always been a staffing problem. I was the managing director in 2010, and it's always been a staffing problem. He doesn't feel that it's dramatically worse than it was before. Well, I think that was very dismissive to our police officers and to our department. If he was the managing director in 2010 under Peter Carlisle, then what did he do about it? What is he doing currently about it, about the staffing issue? But I would like to say that I'm glad that the media is giving this attention, because now we have gotten all the stakeholders' attention. We've got the mayor's attention, who's been supportive. We've got the city council's attention, and we're meeting with them every week. And we've gotten the department's attention. So we're happy that it's getting the attention that it deserves. And we feel that the next chief to come in, whoever that may be, will properly address this situation. And hopefully it'll have a better effect on our community.
Let's talk a little bit about that search for this new chief. We, as you mentioned, spoke to members of the commission on Friday on this program, and they said that this is still in the early stages of finding this new person to lead this department. It could take up to maybe 4 to 5 more months until they actually have somebody that they will be naming into this position. What are your thoughts been on this process to search for a new chief? And do you think that 4 to 5 months of them really spending time to go through this process is worth this wait, and is something that you can support them taking time like this to make sure that they find the right candidate?
Well, I think we can support that they are taking the time to do this. Initially we were very frustrated, and to a certain extent we are still frustrated that this is going to take, over a year or about a year in order to find a chief. And to hire a consulting firm at $145,000, we feel that this process could have been done by the commission themselves. Uh, as far as the survey that was released to the public, the commission could do the survey, on its own to get that feedback. And we welcome feedback from the community as far as what they want to see in the police chief, next police chief. But how many different things can you say about what do you want to see in the next chief? You wouldn't expect the community to say, they want a chief that's just going to sit down in his office and watch YouTube all day. That kind of comment. You're going to get the same broad end of the spectrum on what do you want to see in a chief: integrity, family values, good morals, compassionate for the community and their officers that he or she is representing and leading, having empathy and understanding, being strong and firm, being tough on crime, being assertive, and having true grit. And so those are going to be the things where our community is going to say that's what they want to see in the chief. I think we can all agree on that. Those are the characteristics of someone to lead a large department. And we just feel that we're already along in this process already. So it's going to play out, and we'll support the commission in that way to try and get it done as quickly as possible. But looking at Maui, Maui chose their police chief in less than 3 months, and some other departments on the mainland. Gina did a story on that as well. So, we hope that the process will definitely finish off stronger than it started.
I want to ask you about that search, just in terms of, do you think the person should be someone from inside the department right now, or do you favor having someone from the outside come in? Maui, as you noted, of course, has a chief that came from the mainland, as does Kauai. What are your thoughts on whether this person should be homegrown or come from the outside?
Well, we just want the best candidate and the best qualified candidate to come in and lead the department. Now, if that's a candidate from the outside and that's the way the commission feels, then so be it. If it's somebody internally that has gone through the process and has shown that he or she can lead the department at a high level, then we're okay with that too. But we do kind of lean on the side of an internal police chief, just the fact of understanding Hawaii and what we're all about, and how things are done here in Hawaii, and how our department operates. I think some of the challenges that we're seeing with Maui and their chief is, he came from Las Vegas, and it's him and the deputy chief also came from Las Vegas. So from an outsider coming into a department that's had a command staff that's gone up through the ranks to try and achieve that position, I think there was some animosity there, and they kind of got off on the wrong foot. But we're kind of closely monitoring that. I think it's going to be a work in progress, but we wish Chief Pelletier the best, and hopefully will lead the Maui department to properly serve the community.
Interim Chief Vanek has assumed this role after Chief Ballard decided to take that early retirement. I'm wondering if you can share your thoughts on how you feel he's done within this department in this interim role, and just your overall relationship in working with this interim chief.
Well, I've worked with Chief Vanek in the past on the road, and me and him are beat partners, so we know each other well. I think he's a very educated and bright individual. He has a lot of good ideas. And I think, he has the qualities of becoming the next chief. I think maybe that we would appreciate or would have liked him to maybe make some stronger decisions on the interim as far as which way the department goes, as far as our staffing and, some of the other things. But, we realize that he's only there in the interim while the search is being done. So we can understand his position that doesn't want to go out too far on a limb to make any real big changes for the department.
You've got a relatively new face, not necessarily new to the state, but new in that office, and Steve Alm in the prosecutor's office. Tell us a little bit from the police perspective on how you think the prosecuting department is doing, prosecutor's office rather, and how they are working hand in hand with your officers.
So with the prosecutor's office, we recently had that murder in front of the Kapolei police station, in which an innocent lady lost her life. And I think that was something that had happened where it could have been prevented. And I think it brought to light what some of the issues that the department has dealt with the prosecuting attorney's office for years. And this is before prosecuting took office. The frustrating thing for our members is that they do such a great job with making arrests, making good arrests, good felony cases. And then when they confer it with the prosecutors, they find every which way to dump the case a lot of times. And we see that, frankly, with auto theft. A lot of times, if the suspect is caught inside a vehicle that's stolen, the case gets conferred. And if there's a key in the ignition, 9 times out of 10, they dump the case because they basically say that the person operating the vehicle, they can always say that they were given permission by the owner. And we feel that that's a very bad practice. There's other cases that could be charged and not. If the public doesn't know, the prosecuting attorney does have a charging criteria that they send to the chief, and it's a guideline. But unless the suspect fits this charging criteria, they don't charge them in most cases. And I'll give you an example, Yanji and Ryan. Let's say you guys finish your work shift today and you go home. It's about 4:30, and you open the door to your home, and you find that your home has been ransacked. Things are all over the place. Your jewelry is missing. Some cash is taken. Your TV is gone. You walk into your living room, and there's the suspect there. He sees you. He runs out the door. Okay. You call the police. You call 911. We respond. We locate him down the street, and we arrest him. Okay, for burglary in the first degree, Class C felony. When the case gets conferred with the prosecutor's office, in order to charge that individual, if that person is not a major offender, is not a transient, they're not going to charge them. The charging criteria for burglary first, and I have it right here, is that the crime was committed between the hours of 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. Why that's there? That's absolutely absurd. I think the community should be in an uproar that somebody can come into your home, burglarize your home between the hours of 6 a.m. and 6 p.m., and they wouldn't get charged if they don't have multiple arrests. And I think as a union, we believe in giving people in our community second chances. It's not just send everybody to jail, but when you have offenders doing these types of crimes 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 100 times, and they're being released out into the community and then keep reoffending, then I think that's definitely a problem that needs to be addressed. And to give Steve Alm some credit, we do have a meeting with him in a few weeks, and we're going to bring these issues with the screening deputies in the office, and hopefully Steve can get it fixed.
And have you had any conversations about this? You just said that you're going to be meeting with him, but I assume that maybe there have been some kind of conversations, or have there been anything about some of these issues that you feel should be, addressed in terms of this prosecuting time and this overall prosecuting criteria, and what really deems suitable to, be prosecuted and be taken on by this office? Has there been any response thus far from that office?
Well, as far as now, no. In the years past, the department has tried, and our administration has sat down. They would have quarterly meetings, I believe, with the prosecutor's office to go over these types of things, but it's always fallen on deaf ears. And maybe that's because who was in the leadership position at that time. We all know what happened with her. But we're hoping that Prosecutor Alm will at least sit down with us and listen to our concerns and at least be open to make some changes.
I'm going to go back to that issue that you brought up regarding the money and turning over millions of dollars back to the city. What is the reason that you have been given for those decisions? Why on earth would you not try to use every dollar when you're telling officers that the department is cash strapped at the same time turning money back to the city? It doesn't seem to make a lot of sense on its face. So what is the reason that you've been given for that?
So we've been given multiple reasons, and we don't know which one to believe. The department says that the city cut $12 million off of their budget, but then we talked to the city council, and the city council says no. Whatever the department requested as far as the budget, they approved 100% of it. We just don't know who to believe. The administration, basically says that it's a $300 million budget, and if we come to within 1% and 5% of the budget without going over, then we're doing a good job. I don't know if I agree with that. If we're giving back 18 million, I think we should be spending it, because if we're giving it back, the city council and the mayor are going to tell the chief, well, you gave back 18 million. Obviously, you can do with what you have. We've been getting by. So basically, that's not something that we agree with.
Switching gears again, we know that this is an election year, and many different unions across the state look to endorse different political candidates and support them in their race for these various offices that are up during this election cycle. Oftentimes SHOPO has been one of those unions that come up first or one of the first unions to support and make announcements of deciding what candidates they choose to support. But we know that this is something that you actually wanted to take a look at in your leadership capacity when you took over this role as the head of this organization and this union. Talk to us about the criteria moving forward about how SHOPO will decide what candidates to support and how this overall process will play out this election season.
Yeah, so with our political strategy, we're kind of taking not a different approach, but kind of taking a look at it as far as who we endorse and who we don't want to endorse. Of course, any candidate that wants to seek our endorsement, it's an open door. We will hear and meet any and all candidates that want to seek endorsement. That's something that we definitely want to talk with the candidate. Just based on their character, what they represent, and we don't endorse based on party lines, whether you're Democrat, Republican, Libertarian. We want to know where the candidate sits on the issue itself. Whatever issue is presented before the candidate, we want to know how the candidate processes that issue and then comes to a decision and which side that they're on. So we're more about the character, the integrity of the person running for office, and then basing their decision on the issue and not on party lines. And so we're kind of taking a look at that, and maybe some races will stay neutral, some other races maybe will make an endorsement, but we won't contribute to the campaign, because a lot of times in the past we've endorsed candidates, and then when it comes time to support law enforcement in the legislature with bills that affect our members, we end up taking a back seat, and the candidate, doesn't even reach out to us to at least find out where we stand on it. So that's some of the things that we're looking at this political season.
Just for clarification, are you saying that you will endorse perhaps, maybe not in all races, but some, but not make any financial commitments? Is that different than the past, or how is that different than the past?
In the past, as far as we've done it as a board, is we would endorse the candidate, and then we would pretty much give the maximum donation to the candidate and their party, and that might not be just a stroke with a broad brush, but 9 times out of 10, if we endorse the candidate, we also give money to their campaign, whatever is bound under law.
I want to start.
Wait, I just want to clarify. So SHOPO's not doing any financial donations this campaign season. Is that right?
No, we are, but it's just that we're kind of taking a look at whether or not we want to entertain that. So, well, I guess what I'm trying to say is not so much rely on the strategy that we've used in the past, but maybe take a look at the board is going to discuss, well, maybe we'll endorse the candidate, but we'll wait till some issues come out and see if they reach out to us or they openly support us. And then at least we know, okay, the candidate supports law enforcement and is moving in that direction. So we would, then give money to their campaign and support him or her.
Our time is almost up, and before we let you go, I just wanted to circle back with how we began this conversation and give you an opportunity for a final message that you have out there to the community. Obviously, this staff shortage, as you say, is something that is a priority and something that you want, the department as well as the general public to be aware of. What is your final message this morning for those who are watching on this issue, and anything else that you want to leave us with this morning?
Well, the final message to the community is that our police officers out there in HPD, we do anything and everything for the community. And whether we're short-staffed or not, we're going to suit it up, come to work, and we're going to serve the community and get the job done. And I think all of our members believe that, and they perform the best that they can every day. And I think, we should thank them for that. And this, patrol staffing, we want the community to deserve the best. And only to deserve the best is when a community calls 911, that an officer is going to respond and take care of that problem. People don't call 911 to tell the police, oh, you guys are doing a fabulous job. They call 911 because they're in crisis. They have an immediate problem that needs to be addressed, and they need help. And so in order for that to happen, we need to have 100% in the field so that we don't leave our community short. We don't have the 60-year-old grandma sitting at the bus stop getting robbed, getting her purse taken. We need to show force. We need to have enough officers in the field to show that police presence so that our community feels safe. And I just want to touch upon something really quick in regards to the selection of our new chief. The main thing that we want our new chief to address is obviously the patrol staffing, but the second thing is uniform and equipment. Our officers on the road are stuck in this uniform that we've been wearing since the 80s. It's a uniform that should be worn to a funeral, quite frankly. We need something that's more comfortable. We need a different gun belt. The gun belt is a Sam Brown gun belt that is back in the 80s. And, the department and the policing profession keeps adding tools to the belt. Tasers, body cameras are now on the chest. So maybe to get rid of the old leather belt and go to a nylon belt with Velcro, a load-bearing vest where you take the tools off the waist and put it on the chest and the shoulders. And these kinds of things are so small to people upstairs, but it's huge to the officers on the road because that makes their working conditions better. And if we have officers on the road that have good working conditions, it benefits the community because then they give better service. So that's the things that we want from our new chief to address, and we'll keep on point until it gets addressed.
Robert Cavaco, president of SHOPO, thank you so much for spending so much time and delving into all of these issues with us this morning. We really do appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, Yunji and Ryan. Appreciate having me on.
Thank you. We covered a lot of ground, Ryan, and it was very interesting to see even just that last point at the end, talking about the uniforms and the weight of the belts and things that honestly, as he said, as someone in the public, it's not something that you even think about, but it must be very difficult for those officers to have all that gear and have the uniform that they have now. They're asking for what sound like fairly simple changes on that front, and some bigger issues, of course, as well. The staffing shortages that he pointed to in some cases is, just around 50% of officers being there that actually are supposed to be there. But at the same time, the department turning over millions of dollars back in their budget to the city year after year. There is a disconnect there. And obviously, Mr. Cavaco bringing that to our attention and really calling out to the chief, to the city council, to even Prosecutor Steve Alm in his role to try to change all of this.
Yeah, just the overall patrol staffing, he says, continues to be a problem that has been there, but something that continues to only get worse and not better. And if anything, it just pulls on the resources and the strain of the officers. He painted and provided some very clear examples of how the staffing issues on each of the different beats and how thin that they are in some of those areas of the island, and how much ground that they're really having to cover on some of those beats. And so really he mentioned that they will be meeting with Interim Chief Vanek to hopefully talk through some of these issues. They already have had a few conversations said that are going well, that he feels the department is understanding and listening to what they have to say. They still have a ways to go, but good to hear that that conversation is happening, and hopefully there will be some solution to this issue.
Yeah, great to have him on and to highlight all of those issues. Of course, we appreciate Honolulu Police Department and all that they do for our community. And, to hear about all that money being returned is just really surprising. So we're going to follow up on this in the weeks to come. Of course, our guest was supposed to be Governor Ige. He's going to be joining us later this week. We hope you do too. Until Wednesday at 10:30, stay safe. Aloha. We'll see you then.
Aloha.
This episode of Spotlight Hawaii is brought to you by Longstrugs and Beachside Roofing.